Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So let's begin with the revision of the module that is the business skills for e-commerce. In the last class, we have started with the revision of this e-commerce and we have finished one chapter of this one. Let's continue with the second chapter, that is chapter number 2, framework of the e-commerce. How to use the framework, or what is the e-commerce, what is the framework. That means what is the structure of the e-commerce, how it is built and how it is developed with the e-commerce. So let's begin with the chapter number 2, that is the framework of e-commerce. This is a structure. These are the various topics that we are going to discuss in this one, in this revision. First is the objectives. After the objective, there is the introduction, then information providers. Who are the information providers? E-commerce functions. Then it is a generic framework that is used as e-commerce. Then what are the various building blocks, objects, classes, then legal and the financial framework, that is an Indian approach. Then summary, keyword, and so on. At last, there is a suggestions and the bibliography as well as the question answers. So let's start with the objectives. E-commerce, a new form of or new means of carrying out the business transaction through electronic means in general, through internet environment in particularly, have been proving its financial benefit and an effective contribution to the socio-economic growth. And as a part of the digital economy, electronic commerce plays a role as a key for us to open the door to the 21st century. That is a new era that is used in the knowledge-based economy. And in the context of the electronic commerce, when you say about the electronic commerce, there's a need to define the framework. It's mandatory to define the framework for the e-commerce. And after going through the lesson, you will be able to understand what is the framework, how it is used, and illustrates the various building blocks of the e-commerce. What are the various building blocks of e-commerce? Then what are the various functions of e-commerce that is defined? Then Indian approach of legal and the financial framework of e-commerce, how it is built, how it is developed, and why it is developed. So that explains the Indian approach of legal and the financial framework of e-commerce. So let's begin with the introduction. Introduction in the sense, yes, it is the ability. Yes, you have discussed already, but okay. So let's move to the next one. That is the information providers. Who are the information providers? In this, there are the three types of the information-driven companies that is available. Those that create the content, those that define the content, and those that provide the distribution medium. So there are three parts. One is the create content. One is the forms or the formats. Then finally, those that provide the distribution medium, that may be a broadcasting station, that may be a recording studio, that may be a cable operator, and so on. And companies that are targeted, vertical market needs access in all three these areas. That means all the areas are targeted with the information providers. Yeah, this is the same diagram. This is a diagram that shows the information providers, types of information providers. That one is a distribution, one is a form, one is a content. Let's see what are the various e-commerce functions. These are the various 10 e-commerce functions that is available. First one is standard setting body, then WAN service providers, hosting services, that is the data center. What is the data center? How it is going to use? What is the web server? How it is declared or how it is used as a web client or the server? Then software developer. This is also e-commerce function. Then certification authority, then publisher, aggregator, copyright broker, metering authority, that may be a presence provider, that may be an information center or the consumer, and the provisions of the about 10 e-commerce function does not it does not necessary that the involvement of the equivalent number of the parties are involved. It also carried out by the same provider, by different provider. That means either in a group, either in an individual framework. Then next one is e-commerce a generic framework. A generic framework in the sense, what is a generic framework? That is used for the various ways by which it is used in the generic framework. So it has already been discussed in chapter that one that e-commerce is related to the execution of the business transactions of the e-messaging devices. There have been a lot of changes. What are the various changes? There is a lot of changes that is used, that is available with the e-commerce in the traditional business models to incorporate the advantages offered by the e-commerce, and the brick and mortar businesses are finding ways to incorporate the activities to gain the advantages from the e-commerce, to take the advantages from the e-commerce by the data, by the, we can say, the developing the importance of the business model, how it is used, why it is used, and what are the various supportive infrastructure and the business facilities application that is used with the basic issue that is kept in mind while developing the e-commerce business model. And there are certain basic considerations that should be mind or that should kept in mind while developing a generic framework for e-commerce. That means what are the various provisions, what are the various guidelines for the e-commerce, what are the various ways by which we can use the e-commerce strategies. And these are as listed below. This is the framework for the e-commerce. One is the interoperability, then eligibility or the flexibility and the forward integration. What is the flexibility, how it is flexible, and what are the various forward integration sites. Then involving the latest technological and applications. What are the various latest technological advancement, what are the various applications that is used. Then backward integration. Backward integration means what are the various business enterprises that will shift from the traditional commerce to the e-commerce. That we can say that how it is used with the EDI WAN. And it is also much logical to expect the data to expect that these legacy systems will not vanish overnight, because these are the integration. These are used with the EDI with the WAN. Then media conversions, that means media is also linked with the devices with the all kinds of the legacy and newly developed devices in the media over which it is delivered, that is used with the generic framework, that is used with the e-commerce, that must be able to take into the stride the ability to accommodate the technology, devices, and the conversions that needed to reach and sustain the mass market. The next is information intensive products. What are the various information intensive products that is used? So a particularly important aspect or the class of the products on the NIE are those that are pure information. So these are the pure information that is available with the business reintegration, business intelligence, business intensive products. For example, when we talk about the electronic commerce, when we talk about the electronic keys to hotel rooms, cars, storage compartments, and the airports boarding gates. Many of these products will not simply offered by the vendor, they will be designed or tailored by the customer that is used. For example, choose their own selection of the articles that is to be bound in an electronic book or customize their own clothing designs. And this capability also adds a custom driven activity, that is a design phase, to the purchase cycle. The next point is a non-revenue collection method, that is the same point. So it also advances with the advanced type of the revenue collection that may be used with the debit card, credit card, or the net banking. Then legacy system that is used in the electronic commerce domain, that includes with the paper checks, maintenance, or mainframe based settlement, payment methods, EDI, that is electronic data interchange, that lets the user transfer the data easily between the older system and with the new one, that is only electronic system applications and the processes. The next one is the transaction devices. So these are the devices or these are the transactions that will involve all kinds of legacy and newly developed devices and the media that is used with the network over which it is delivered, over that it is delivered. So a framework that is developed, all of its needs and the consideration in mind will form the strongest basis for the powerful and the useful electronic commerce infrastructure. That means when I talk about the need and the consideration, that will make the strongest basis for the powerful and the useful electronic commerce infrastructure that will describe with the various activities, various functions in the infrastructure criteria. Then activities and the functions. First is advertising and the shopping, negotiating, ordering, billing, payment, the settlement, distribution and the receipt, accounting, customer service, information and the knowledge processing. What are the various information processing? What are the various ways that is used with the various activities in the electronic commerce? In ways it is developed that are setting are the discussed below that is used. What are the various activities that is used available over here? That means how electronically it is used, how it is used over the transaction size and the scope. Then advertising and the scope, shipping or the shopping, that is also possible with the use of the e-commerce. That means anything is possible to sell out at any time with the help of the e-commerce. Then what is the major problem that is associated with advertising and the shopping activity? That is the cost and the time in the developing, maintaining, and finding the relevant information. And this problem will also become increasingly complex as more and more data and services become available online, and the choices and the possibilities is also used. So there's a choice that will increase day to day. Sorry, day by day, not the day to day, that is a day by day it is increasing. Then negotiating, that means negotiating among the buyer and the seller that may elect to negotiate the terms of a transaction, that is the terms of the exchange and the payment. And these terms may cover the delivery, refund policies, arranging for the credit, installment payments, copyright or the license agreements, usage rights, distribution rights, and so on. That is the negotiating rights. So there is the negotiating rights with the refunding policy, negotiating rights with the arranging the credit, installment payments, and these terms are basically used for the routine commodity use and customized to suit more unique individual situations. That is often used in the case of two parties with a well-established business relationship, and that is used in terms of the exchange, that is used as a standing contractual terms for all their future exchanges. And this process will frequently also include authentication of the two parties. That means both the parties will win. There is a win-win situation. Yes, buyer and the seller, both parties will win in case of the negotiation. Then ordering. In this, the order or the buyers eventually issue a contractual agreement of the terms of the exchange and the payment. This contractual agreement is generally issued as an order that sets the forth the quantity, price, and other terms of the transactions. And this agreement can be confined in a secure way, electronically safeguarded by the cryptographic techniques such as digital signatures. The next one is a billing that is also possible with the e-commerce with the e-content that is used with the suppliers that advances the shipping notification and the customer agrees to authorize the payment upon the confirmation of the arrival of the product. That is used in some cases as with the free information example. This activity is also eliminated entirely. Then payment and the settlement that is also used with the e-payment. What are the various authentication payment, digital cash, contract or the obligations that is used with the remittance information to the seller, and that payment will be sent for a single item on urgent basis for the multiple usage, multiple items for the usage. That also occurs when the payment and the remittance information are analyzed by the seller and or the seller's agent and are accepted as a valid terms. Then distribution and the receipt that is used with the payment, and the seller arranges for the delivery of the purchased goods, services. What are the various products? What are the various services that is used over here? And then the distribution service that also gives the stocks in the trust. Then accounting in the sense this is also used with the e-commerce that is used with the customer and the suppliers, and the both buyer and the seller must reconcile all the electronic transactions in the account receivable and the account payable, inventory information and the accounting in systems. The next one is customer service that also deals with the buyer with timely information as to progress of the transaction, handling the customer requirements when transactions go away, providing the expert advice and the assistance in the use of the product and the services. That remains the same in the case of the customer service. That remains the same in providing the general cash management advice. That includes the advising the foreign exchange, imbalancing and the risk exposures. Then this is the e-commerce core, business applications, service enabling infrastructure, content development, content deployment, distribution infrastructure that may be included with the financial issues, market access, legal and the regulatory issues, market access, cultural issues, and the network protocols and the technical issues. This is the framework of e-commerce. So these are the framework of e-commerce, how it is used, how it is enabled. So first is the financial issues, then there is a market access, cultural issues, network protocols, and the technical issues, legal regulatory issues. So these are the various issues that is available within this, that is available within the e-commerce core. Now that includes the business application, that includes the service enabling infrastructure, that includes the content development, deployment, and the distribution infrastructure. That is the e-commerce core. Now there are four parts for the e-commerce: financial issues, market access, cultural issues, network protocol, and the technical, legal and the regulatory issues. What are the various legal and the regulatory issues that is used with the e-commerce? Now, next is a generic framework that is included, that is explained in again the two part that will again consisting of the basic infrastructure that enables the e-commerce activities and the five corner web of the basic issues. These are the five corner web. One is a legal, financial, market, cultural, network protocols. Now, what is the e-commerce core? How it is used? How it is used means what is the three-layer architecture that is used with the e-commerce core? That is used with the bottom-up approach. E-commerce can be described as a a three-layer architecture whose each subsequent layer in the sense whose each layer is depends on the upon the lower layers, and the three layers starting from the lower layer are what are the three layers that is used. First is the content development, deployment, and the distribution infrastructure. This layer will include all the hardware and the network infrastructure that will act as a physical infrastructure to enable the e-commerce transaction. This will include content development infrastructure, that may include the multimedia publishing infrastructure, multimedia storage infrastructure, multimedia deployment infrastructure. These are the three parts with the infrastructure. One is a multimedia publishing, one is a multimedia storage, one is a multimedia deployment infrastructure. Publishing is used for the multimedia content, storage is used for the storage facilities, and the development is used for receiving and searching, for searching and then receiving the multimedia content from their storage locations. First is the distribution infrastructure that is used with the network access device infrastructure that is used, that also dependent on the controlled by the merchant and the customers, that is used by the network service provider, that is used with the local on the RAM service provider, then third party value added networks and the network service provider, that is NSPs, and there is a global information delivery that is also used with the submarine cables, intercontinental optical fiber networks, satellite and other network forming backbone of the global communication network. What is the global communication network? That is used with the deployment of the secure electronic payment, that is SSL, secure socket layer for the fund transfer, third party verification and the authentication services. Then what are the various objects and what are the various object classes that is used with the e-commerce? So e-commerce has a various object and the object classes that is used with the unstructured information, that is used with the reports, free form text, voice and the video. Then structured information, that is EDI messages, electronic forums, then contracts and the contract rules, design specification and so on. Account specification, account database, accounting rules, transactions, records, agents, brokers. These are the various e-commerce building blocks, that is the objects and the object classes. Then there is a decision support system, decision support model and the simulations. These building blocks are likely to become the standard digital objects of the e-commerce. Over time, this will become increasingly comprehensive and refined. The next one is a business application. This layer corresponds to the real business transactions that takes place using the digital messaging technology, and that is used with the business application that can be offered outline or online, that can be listed as below. There is online education and the learning, education on the demand, distance e-learning, virtual classrooms, CBT, then online marketing, communication and the promotion, online shopping, then e-procurement and the e-purchasing. There is also a method for the e-procurement, e-purchasing, then online gaming, online news. These are the various e-commerce facilities that is provided with the e-commerce, we can say, digital video and the animations. Now, what are the various issues that is involved in the e-commerce? What are the various issues that is available in the e-commerce? First is the financial issues, that may be a customs, there may be a customs and the taxations. then electronic payment and the fund transfer, then legal and the regulatory issues. There is a uniform commercial code, intellectual property protection, privacy, security, confidentiality and the integrity, protection of the consumer rights and the interest, content liability, disputes resolution and the jurisdiction. Then market related issues, there is a market development stage, competition, customer orientation, trust and the reliability. These are the various market related issues. Then next one is a network protocol technical standard. There may be a different multimedia format. There may be a social cultural issue that may be perceived, the economic appeal, attitude towards the e-commerce, usability, lifestyle. So these are the various issues. Then e-compatible legal and the financial framework. That is also known as the Indian approach. So all over the world, globalization and the new information and communication technology that are restructuring or reconstructing the commercial distribution circuit, that are reinforcing the linkages between the internal and the external trade. And even developing the countries like India, therefore, can no more treat the internal and the external sectors in the isolation, and that is used with the legal and the financial framework for one sector directly affects the other sectors. And while the regulation and the rules which governs commercial operation that remains mostly local or national in the scope, that is used with the growth of e-commerce, that use in the question of the ability of the public authority to impose their national market and international trade by their companies and the citizens. Then legal framework that also included with the two basic areas, those of the regulation, those of the making the legal system compatible to and for the e-commerce. And that is also perceived as in facilitator in the content requires a formal for to be the effectual. And there in fact many things that government might reasonably want to regulate over the internet. And the IT Act essentially seeks to address three areas or perceived requirement for the digital era to make possible e-commerce transaction, both business to business and the business to consumer end, to make the possible e-commerce transactions. There's a this IT Act that enables the requirements. What is the requirement? First of all, more and more e-commerce transactions, then more and more e-governance transactions, then to curb the cybercrime and regulate the internet. Then next is the e-governance that implies action and the commitment of the state and its agency at the two level. First is the promotion of the information and the communication technology. That is, first is promote the information and the communication technology, especially with the e-commerce on the hand. Then adopting of the technology that involves in the in the matter of completely new types of equipment, open system, and the use of medium of internet for the government, business, citizen interaction, and the most important for the development. Now, these are the various challenges that is faced in this regard. First is handling the feudal mindset. Then implementing requires change management in the re-engineering the government agencies. Transparency, that is the issue of making the government dealings transparent and thereby reducing the corruption. Then labor and the union problems in the government. What are the various labor and the union government problems? And implementation is also one of the difficult tasks that is used or that is framework with the financial financial applications. And at last, there is a summary. Now, the e-commerce framework and the information infrastructure still in the early stage of the development. We have to reform, we have to transform our world into the e-commerce strategies. Over and over decades, more advances on the e-commerce framework that is also used over here. Next is chapter number 4. Now, these are the keywords that is left over, WAN and the WAN, WAN, the wide area network, VA.